I'm not going to keep having daily updates over and over and over again. You know how many times we've been asked that question?
At one point, Adams was asked if he understands that it's not just reporters who want to know more about these investigations.
No, I don't understand.
So things are not looking good for the New York City Mayor, Eric Adams. Pressure is mounting on the mayor as calls for him to quit continue to grow louder. The press is relentless, demanding answers about this federal investigation. Mind you, there's multiple federal investigations, but Adams seems to be dodging accountability at every turn. Is he cracking under the heat? Let's get into it.
New York Mayor Adams reached a kind of boiling point when it comes to the federal investigations involving his administration. Today, he insisted that he was too busy running the biggest city in the country to focus on all these questions from reporters about the investigations swirling around his administration. No question, it's a huge city with lots to be done, but critics say these investigations appear real and are affecting government.
Let me stop here for a second. Did you guys catch that? So Adams is going to say, and you'll be seeing this later in the video, he's too busy running the biggest city in the country to focus on these questions. All these questions about 4 federal investigations spanning basically all of his aides. Anyone who's close to him is being investigated. Phones being confiscated, homes are raided. I don't know about you guys, but when you're under federal investigation, you can't just act like it's not important, like it's just status quo. Most of our politicians are not necessarily under investigation from the feds. Basically, you're in the same path as many of the corrupt mayors in this country, and you're on the same path as Diddy. Everyone is being investigated by the feds. So for him to be saying that, it's like saying, I'm too busy to deal with my own mess. Eric Adams can't just sweep this under the rug. He is the mayor, right? If the people have questions about his conduct and about what's going on, especially involving city contracts and police involvement, shouldn't we all expect transparency?
I'm not going to keep having daily updates over and over and over again. You know how many times we've been asked that question?
Mayor Adams sounded exasperated, holding his weekly Q&A session at City Hall and fielding the same questions about the ongoing federal investigations.
We know what you know. Again, I'm not going back and forth on questions that I asked or answered over and over again.
Adams believes his accomplishments are being overshadowed, but the fact is, his chief counsel said she could no longer defend Adams, and his police commissioner resigned after subpoenas were served on him, the school's chancellor, 2 deputy mayors, a top mayoral advisor, and a private consultant, among others.
He is screwed. Many of our most important jobs and positions within the New York City government, they're under investigation by the feds. And this dude doesn't want to talk about it anymore. He doesn't want to be asked the same questions over and over again. He says, I'm not going to keep having these daily updates over and over again. Now, listen, yeah, there's frustration talking, but I think a lot of us are frustrated. If reporters keep asking you the same question, does that mean they're not satisfied with the answers you've given? Maybe, just maybe, that means you need to clarify things. Let's be real here. The public deserves answers. We're not just talking about some minor issues. This is about federal investigations and potentially corrupt practices in your administration. This is a big deal. And as the mayor of New York City, it's your job to address it. I mean, seriously, the police commissioner resigned. His chief counsel, his lawyer, resigned. 2 deputy mayors, a school's chancellor, and a private consultant also involved. When there's this many people around you dropping like flies and the subpoenas are flying left and right, you can't just laugh it off and act like it's business as usual. It's one thing to say I have a city to run. There's one thing to say I've got a city to run, but it's another thing to pretend that these issues don't add more fuel to the fire. What is going on here, and why are people jumping ship?
The investigations broadly focused on the NYPD's nightlife enforcement practices and influence peddling in awarding city contracts. So far, the mayor's most prominent political opponents are not demanding his resignation. Among them, City Comptroller Brad Lander, who's recommending stricter oversight practices.
Look, this is why I'm running to replace him. We don't know what's in all the investigations, and I would like to have more information. But this is a city hall in crisis.
A criticism the mayor laughed off this afternoon.
She's been saying that, just about every other day since we've been in office. But when you do an analysis, you're seeing crime is down, jobs are up, housing is being built. No, 10 months ago, my phones were taken, and when you look at what has happened in those 10 months, it's right up there. We are moving this city forward.
The mayor admitted the public has a right to be concerned, but repeated his prediction that the investigation will clear him.
As a typical politician, classic deflection. He says crimes are down, jobs are up, housing is being built. Go talk to any of the people who live in New York City and ask them if they truly believe that is happening. Actually, this story just came out a couple of days ago. I'll show you guys this right now.
Tonight also involves violence, this time on a subway in Brooklyn. A man with a knife this afternoon going after 2 New York cops, and they fought back with guns.
It happened in the Brownsville area of Brooklyn and started when the armed man evaded his subway fare. The situation ended with the suspect, a police officer, and 2 innocent bystanders shot.
So as of right now, we don't have all of the information. I would love to see that body cam footage. I'm going to try to hold judgment, but it doesn't look very good. What the hell is going on in the subway system where people are having John Wick type shootouts because someone didn't pay a $2.90 fare? But again, most people who are here are not happy with the job Eric Adams is doing. But here's the thing too. You can't erase the fact that there are federal investigations going on. You can't just say, look at all the great things I'm doing and hope people are going to forget about the other mess. It's like you seeing your house being burned down, but you say, well, at least I mowed the lawn. Look how great my lawn looks. We're still worried about the fire. And right now, as your opponent is saying, City Hall is in crisis. There's fire and smoke everywhere around Adams and his administration. Doesn't look very good. Eric Adams thinks that he's going to be vindicated from all this. I mean, it's nice to believe. We've heard this before. Politicians always say, I'll be cleared, no worries, until they're not. If Adams is so confident, then why not be more transparent? Why not put everything out there, answer the questions directly, and let the public see it for themselves? Because right now, all we see is someone avoiding the hard questions.
Another lawmaker is now calling on Mayor Eric Adams to resign, but Adams
Not
has
good.
a message to reporters. He is over answering questions about the more than 4 federal investigations looking into him and his team.
Does the FBI still have your cell phones?
New York City Schools Chancellor David Banks refusing to answer any more questions about the federal investigation targeting him and his 2 brothers, Deputy Mayor Phil Banks and former MTA official Terrence Banks. On Friday, Banks confirmed that his phones were still being held by the FBI, but hasn't given an update since. Mayor Eric Adams appeared with Chancellor Banks for the first time in public since news of the raids were leaked and attended Banks' State of the Schools address. Adams did not speak at the event, however, and snuck out while Banks was still talking. Later, Adams also pushed back on answering any more questions about the growing number of federal investigations looking into him and his team.
We're not going to be distracted. And one of the distractions is answering the same question over and over and over and over again. Like you're going to get a different answer.
See, this way of handling things just won't work. He's calling questions about the investigation a distraction. So that's why a lot of people are going to be pushing back hard. People are asking about these federal investigations involving the people running their city. It's not a distraction. It's accountability. The only time people call something a distraction is when they don't want to face it. Think about it. Why would you call something a distraction unless it's threatening to expose something that you do not want to be exposed?
I'm just not going to do that. I got a city to run.
But now a 4th lawmaker, City Councilwoman Alexa Avelas, is calling on Adams to resign. At one point, Adams was asked if he understands that it's not just reporters who want to know more about these investigations.
No, I don't understand. Because if they had that same level of concern, then I would see it when I'm in the public with all of the town halls.
Adams also pushed back on reports that his legal advisor, Lisa Zornberg, resigned over the weekend because he would not take her advice and fire some of his aides involved in these federal investigations.
That's probably why she abandoned him. He seems to be confused about what's going on. It seems like he thinks he's going to be able to just get away with this or move past this. There's too many people. Look how many people around him. It's like a Brady Bunch. Got the whole crew there. This is not looking good.
This includes one of his top aides, Tim Pearson, who is also separately facing numerous sexual misconduct lawsuits.
Damn.
However, the two have deep ties. Pearson was Adams' commanding officer when they worked for the NYPD and have long been friends. When asked about his loyalty to Pearson, Adams defended Pearson's reputation.
And I saw it in my career in law enforcement. There are lawsuits leveled against people often, from police officers. I saw what happened to Yusef Salon. I saw what happens to others. Let the process take its course.
Loyalty looks like it's going to be the downfall of Eric Adams, unless he's a part of this corruption as well. If you know something is wrong, you're better off using caution and putting that person to the side, letting the process play out instead of continuing to have them on.
Now, Adams was also asked about his deputy mayor of public safety, Phil Banks, who has not made any sort of public statement since his home was also raided by the FBI. He would not say if the city is paying for Banks' legal fees. Bianca, Steve?
Is it smart to stand behind someone who's got several misconduct lawsuits against him? Several sexual misconduct lawsuits against him? Some people may not even call it loyalty. They call it recklessness. His loyalty should be to the people in New York City, not to his buddies. And again, the fact that he's sneaking out of situations, it just appears weak. He cannot face the questions head on. If you can't face the questions head on, what does that say about your leadership? I want to show one question about, again, why are the people being investigated still are working? I want to show the entire question and then we'll hit. I want to show the entire question and his answer. This question is very important. Why aren't the people being held accountable? The reporter is asking the question and Adams gives the same non-answer, refusing to address why these officials are still in their positions. It's like he's trying to pretend everything is fine when it's clearly not. This is classic deflection.
The federal indictment yesterday of retired fire chiefs Anthony Scarabino and Brian Cordasco confirmed that a backtrack list for FT9 inspections from the deputy mayor's office exists. Why have city officials denied its existence, and does it still exist? And then the third quick question is, have you asked for the resignations of anyone around you facing FBI searches and investigations, and they refused?
So let's peel that back one at a time. Starting with the last, again, I say it over and over again, standard. I don't go into private conversations. And that's why people don't have a problem speaking with me, because they never hear what they say back out into the streets. I'm extremely private. When I have a conversation with you, you can feel comfortable in speaking because you're not going to hear it again. I don't go into private conversations. Even when you follow me, when I go up the steps and you say something privately, I don't go into what you say to me. You know, I keep it private. The second, what was the second issue again? I'm sorry.
It was about the federal indictments. Why have city officials denied that this fast-track fire inspection?
No, and let's be clear. I'm glad you asked that question. Let's be clear on this, because when you read the indictment, it's stated that the fire department coined that phrase. They coined that phrase. If there was this list that people are talking about, it wasn't created on this administration.
And it looks like things are going to go pretty bad for Eric Adams in the next couple of weeks. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, dodging questions, brushing off these federal investigations as just distractions, and defending the people with some serious allegations. At this point, it's no wonder people are calling for him to step down. You cannot lead the biggest city in the country like this. New York City deserves better. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.